Welcome, TTI family. Buckle up because today we're diving into the wild world of knife making with none other than Leandro Goretta. You know, the guy who looks at a rusty old leaf spring and sees, well, a weapon of historical significance. That's right, Leandro's on a mission to turn that rusty scrap into a Kukri knife, a blade so legendary that it's basically the Rambo of the knife world. Leandro gets to work. First up, he sketches out the design, ensuring the dimensions and curves of the Kukri match those that could have been used to fend off an entire battalion. Starting with a piece of 5,160 steel, because nothing says I mean business, like a steel that's as tough as your mother-in-law. Oh no, Leandro carefully grinds and smooths the rough-cut steel, working it down with sandpaper grit so fine, they're practically silk sheets for metal. This is where the blade starts to take shape, but it's not all glamour. Leandro's project is a tip of the hat to this rich history, but with a modern twist that only a guy armed with a belt sander, a forge, and a lot of patience could pull off. The journey from rusty leaf spring to fully functional Kukri is a meticulous process that requires skill, precision, and probably a fair amount of caffeine. The Kukri isn't just any knife. It's a symbol of valor, bravery, and the kind of don't mess with me attitude that only a blade with a centuries-old legacy can carry. This isn't just about slicing through butter. This is about slicing through history itself, with roots tracing back to the ancient Mallas dynasty of Nepal. Imagine a knife so revered that it was the go-to weapon for the Gurkhas, those famed Nepalese soldiers who could probably trim a bonsai tree with one hand while fending off an army with the other. Heat treatment in a double burner forge is next, where the blade gets heated up to a temperature hotter than a summer day in Death Valley before being quenched in oil. This hardens the blade and makes it durable enough to survive whatever slicing challenges lie ahead. After the blade's toughness gets the green light, it's polished to perfection. It's not just about looking good, it's about slicing like a dream. Meanwhile, Leandro's already thinking ahead. What's a blade without a handle? Enter Pau Ferro wood or Bolivian rosewood if you're feeling fancy, which Leandro carefully shapes to ensure it feels like a natural extension of your hand. And let's not forget the bronze fittings, because if you're going to make a knife, you might as well make it look like it belongs in a museum. Next up, it's time to drill some holes in the bolster to fit the blade's tang. And let me tell you, this isn't just drilling. It's drilling with the kind of precision that NASA engineers would envy. The tang needs to fit through that bolster tighter than a cat in a sunbeam. Any gaps, and you're looking at a knife that's less weapon of valor and more wonky kitchen utensil. With the bolster snugly in place, Leandro turns his attention to the handle. Leandro files and grinds these pieces into place, adding both strength and a dash of that old world charm that says, I could be a work of art, but I'm too busy being functional. Now when it comes to crafting a kukri knife, you can't just slap things together and hope they stick. The first order of business. Those sleek bronze fittings? Leandro isn't just filing away willy-nilly, he's shaping them with the kind of care that Michelangelo put into chiseling David's abs. Every contour, every edge is meticulously smoothed out until it's as flawless as a marble countertop in a designer kitchen. And what about the clamps? They're not just your everyday, run-of-the-mill clamps. Leandro's got an arsenal. Clamps, bar clamps, spring clamps, you name it. Each one is chosen based on the handle's shape, size, and the specific demands of the bonding process. Then comes the sticky part, literally. Leandro applies high-strength epoxy resin to the tang and the inside of the handle block because nothing says permanent bond like an adhesive strong enough to survive the apocalypse. The handle is carefully aligned with the tang because if it's off by even a hair, the knife's balance and ergonomics would be more than a little out of whack. Once everything's in place, the whole assembly is clamped together tighter than a drum, ensuring that bond sets stronger than your grandma's opinions on table manners. First, it gets a rough sanding. Coarse grit sandpaper takes care of any jagged bits, smoothing out the handle until it feels like it was custom made for your hand. The tang is prepped. The knife's final stats? A whopping 40.2 centimeters in total length with a 28 centimeters blade that practically dares you to say it's not sharp enough, and a 12.2 centimeters handle that'll fit so snugly in your hand, you might just take up whittling. Now you can't just slap a blade together and call it a day. After 24 to 48 hours, depending on the epoxy and possibly the alignment of the stars, the handle is cured, solidifying the bond between blade and handle. More epoxy is applied to secure the tang and bolster with additional pins thrown in for good measure. Because if Leandro's making a knife, you better believe it's going to be sturdy enough to outlast a zombie apocalypse. The bronze fittings aren't just for show, they're a nod to traditional craftsmanship, adding durability and a touch of elegance that would make even the most stoic Gurkha nod in approval. In fact, this kukri knife isn't just a weapon, it's a piece of functional art, a tribute to the valor and honor of the Gurkha soldiers, and a tangible link to history. So as Leandro sands, polishes, and perfects this masterpiece, remember, he's not just making a knife, he's preserving a legacy, one careful cut at a time. Stay tuned for the final reveal.